Hello Bear Tavern students. My name is Gareth Russell and I am a professor at the New Jersey Institute of Technology, or NJIT. I am an ecologist and I'm working on a project to help other scientists collect data on forests, and I'm hoping that you guys will be able to help us out with that project. What we're going to do is develop a tool for mobile phones that will help scientists identify all the trees in a forest so that they can go and make a map of the trees quickly and easily. To do that, we need to train phones to recognize trees, and we're going to train them to recognize trees from pictures of their bark. In order to do that, we need to collect lots of images of tree bark so that we can train something called a neural network to do the identification for us. When we've trained the neural network, it will go inside the app on the phone and help us to identify the trees. We're hoping to be able to identify 24 different trees. I have a list here. This is a sheet of paper which you guys are going to get. I'm hoping that yours will be in color. This one is in black and white with 24 different common tree species on it. What we are hoping you will be able to do for us is collect 100 images of each of the 24 species on this list. Now that sounds like a lot. In fact, it sounds like 2,400 images. But the first thing to remember is that you can take 3 or 4 images of each tree. So you really need to find just 25 trees of each species between all of you. So we're going to set this up a bit like a game, like a competition with a leaderboard. You can think of it as being like a scavenger hunt for trees. Your teacher, Mrs. Overman, who's kindly agreed to help, in fact she's the one who volunteered you guys for this, is going to take you outside for some practice sessions about how to collect tree images. But we're also going to give you a demonstration here today in our garden. For today's demonstration, I've therefore brought along a very special guest. This is Adam Russell.
Hello.
And as you can see from his t-shirt, he used to be at Bear Tavern. Adam is in 7th grade at Timberlane right now, which means that 3 years ago he was in the same class that you are in now, and he is going to demonstrate how to take pictures of a tree for our project. Each of you is going to be given a special code. You can see the QR code right here. It says Adam Russell. This code will take you to a special form for entering data. Adam is going to demonstrate now with his cell phone. Points the camera at the form, a link comes up, and you follow the link and you'll see that it has loaded a form called Forest Mapper Tree Database. The next thing to do is to go and find a tree. So the first thing you need to do is find a tree and identify it as one of the trees on the list. Here's a tree in our garden. Adam, what do you think it is?
It's a red maple.
A red maple. And how do you know it's a red maple?
Because of the shape of its leaves.
Let's have a look. Pull one down, let's have a look at it. So this is the classic maple leaf shape, and you also see that it has little teeth along the edges. And if you look on the identification sheet, that identifies it as a red maple. Okay, so we have our tree ID. Excellent. Before Adam takes his pictures, let's have a closer look at this tree. You'll see that this tree has a split trunk. When we take pictures, what we want to do is get a nice clean picture of the bark, and only the bark with nothing else. So with this tree, what Adam's going to do is he's going to go closer until he has just the bark filling the screen like this, and take his picture. What you don't want to do is take a picture where there are branches broken or bits sticking out or anything that looks particularly unusual. You want to take a picture of relatively clean bark. It's okay if there's lichens and things on it, but you don't want to have any sort of broken branches or big gashes or anything like that. Okay, so here is Adam about to take the picture. If you look at the form, you'll see that first of all he's going to pick his name. It's the only name there because each form is unique to each student. Now he's going to pick the tree species that he identified, which is red maple. Finally, he clicks on the camera icon at the bottom, chooses Take Photo. Now you're going to use your camera vertically. So as Adam steps forward until he is has only the bark and shoots a picture. And what he can do now is he can go around the other side of the tree and take another picture of the same tree. You don't want to take the same side, but you can take up to 3 or 4 pictures of different sides of the tree. Adam, why don't you go take a picture from the other side?
Alright.
You can scoot in here. Okay, now that you've taken the picture, you can submit it. Because you're using a cell phone, you can submit it directly.
Okay.
Do you hit submit?
Yeah, just loading.
Okay, it can take a little while. On your ID sheet, each of the species has pictures of the leaf and pictures of the bark. Most of the time, because this is spring, the leaves are going to be the most useful thing. But sometimes the bark helps you distinguish between two quite similar kinds of tree. Just to give you an example, this tree right here, this is an eastern red cedar. I can tell it's a cedar by looking up at the little tiny leaves. But if I want to check, here it is on the sheet, and you'll see that it describes the bark as reddish and in thin strips. And when I look closer, that just helps me confirm that I'm looking at a red cedar. Some trees have very distinctive bark, and if that's the case, it says so on the sheet. For example, American beech trees have a very smooth and grey bark, and that's very obvious when you get close. Shagbark hickory has bark that looks like it's peeling off in strips, and it is also very distinctive. You'll see those in the forests. But most of the time, sometimes bark can look very similar from tree to tree, and most of the time the leaves will be the thing that help you know what kind of tree it is. Sometimes you may be able to use your phone or a parent's phone to take pictures, and if you do that, you can directly submit pictures to the database from the phone over your cell phone connection. However, if you're using a Chromebook, for example, if you go out and bear Tavern, you won't be able to submit the pictures directly. What you will need to do is save them to your Chromebook, to your Google Drive, and then submit them later. Adam is demonstrating taking a picture with his Chromebook. Now that he's taken it, he's going to need to save it with a name that he will recognize later. So this tree is a red cedar, and so he needs to save that picture with a name like red cedar so that when he gets back on a Wi-Fi connection, he knows what species it was, so he can submit it using the same form and correctly identifying the species. So now he's typing in a name for that image. What did you call it, Adam? Red cedar?
Yeah.
Okay. It only matters that you recognize it, because when you submit it, the official names on the form will be used. So that's how you do it with a Chromebook. You can take as many as you like and then go back on a Wi-Fi connection and upload them in batches of 4. One of the trees on your list is the white ash. The white ash is a victim of a disease caused by an insect, the emerald ash borer. Most ash trees that you see are going to be either dead or dying. This is an example of one. You see that it has leaves for some of it, but the rest of it at the top has no leaves at all. So this tree is slowly dying, and most ash trees are going to be like this. That's okay, you can still take pictures of their bark. I'm just showing you this tree as an example of what not to take a picture of. This is a honey locust. It's actually not one of the trees on the list, but if it was, one thing to be careful of is you notice this object down here. This is called a burr, and it's caused because the tree had an injury when it was young. It's like a little scar tissue that's created on the tree. But you would not want to take a picture of this for the database because it will mess things up. But actually in this tree it would be fine. If you go up a little ways, you find that you will get a nice picture of just the bark above the burr. So that's something to avoid, as well as sort of broken branches and other sort of obvious injuries to the tree. So where are you going to go find these trees? The idea is that you go out to your favorite walking spot. It might be a local park and local nature preserve. There are so many around town. You've got Mercer Meadows, Fiddler's Creek, Baldpate Mountain, Washington Crossing Park, So many places full of great trees. In these places you're mostly going to be walking on paths, especially when you're in the woods. It's okay to step off the path a little bit to take a picture of a tree, but what you can't do is go wandering way off the path deep into the woods. The rangers don't like it and it's not safe. But you'll be able to find most of the trees on this list very close to a path somewhere. We're going to set it up like a game, so there'll be a leaderboard, and as time goes on, the trees that are remaining, the ones where the photographs have not yet been taken, will be worth more and more points. And at the end, there will be some prizes for those students who got the most pictures or who found the rarest trees.